I've been waiting to film this video for weeks, if not months, and I just can't wait any longer. I'm losing sleep over it. So that's the one and only reason why I'm filming it today. Although I would have had to film it in the next few weeks regardless, because I have a new book coming out this September. Yes, my second published work will be coming out this September, but it's very different from my previous book. If you didn't already know, almost exactly a year ago, last summer, my first ever published work came out, which was Greek Myths, Meet the Heroes, Gods and Monsters of Ancient Greece by myself and illustrated by Katie Ponder, which was published by DK and is a children's non-fiction book. But this September, I'm publishing my first ever adult fantasy novel, and I do actually have a proof copy that I can show you. This is the proof copy of my fantasy novel. I feel like there is probably a much more articulate, better structured way for me to talk to you all about this, but I also just feel so overwhelmed by emotions that this is probably the best you're gonna get. So this is my adult fantasy novel. It's proof, like I mentioned. That's why it has this big band on it that says not for resale. This will not be on the final copies. And for anyone interested, this is the back of the book. I will insert a full image of the cover into this video, however, so you can see it properly and fully. And I don't even know where to start with talking about this book and the fact that it is actually going to be available for people to read in a few months' time. It is so nerve-wracking because not only is it quite different from this, it's in the genre that I've always written in, I've always dreamt of publishing in, and I'm also going to be self-publishing it, so it's a massive undertaking and a massive endeavour. If you would like me to talk more about the self-publishing process in a separate video, then let me know. I don't want this video to turn into that, but I had a lot of back and forth thinking about what the best way to approach publishing this book in particular would be, and I decided to go for the self-publishing route for a variety of reasons that, like I said, I can talk about in a separate video, and that's not because I don't love traditional publishing. Obviously this is published traditionally, and I am actually working on a second traditionally published work, which I'll obviously share more information with you all when that's been finalised and we have a release date, etc, etc. It might be a little while yet, but super excited. I love both self-publishing and traditional publishing, and I think there is a place for both, and it just felt right for this work. It just felt right for this book that I poured my heart and soul into over the past 3 years. So my book, as you can probably see, is called The Flames of Albiyon. It's the first book in a high fantasy adult series, so there will be sequels. I'm currently working on book 2 as we speak. I mean, not literally as we speak, but possibly when you're watching this I'll be working on it, although I'm probably just going to be sitting at my computer anxiously awaiting to hear your feedback and your comments on this video when it goes live. And like I said, I'm so nervous, but nobody cares, June. Stop talking about how nervous you are and talk about the book. So my book, like I've already mentioned, is high fantasy. It is also very firmly within the hope punk subgenre. So if you're not familiar, hope punk is the term that's been coined for books that are effectively the opposite of grimdark. So you have grimdark fantasy, things like Game of Thrones, and then you have hope punk science fiction and fantasy, a little bit more like The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. And the overarching theme is that it is a more hopeful tone. My book is not grimdark. Of course there is tension, there is drama. The characters have their ups and their downs, but it is a book that I hope will bring you joy and comfort, and that you can invest emotions into the characters with, and that you can just come away from feeling hopeful. It is the fantasy book that I want to read. I basically wrote the fantasy book I want to read, which I think is true of most authors, because I am constantly on the hunt for not only fantasy where there is hope, but also where there is queer representation, and my fantasy book is a queer fantasy book. The protagonist in this story is called Adaria. She is a young scholar that lives and works at the Albiyon University, and during the course of the novel we also follow her developing relationship with another young woman and dragon companion, because this is, if you couldn't tell from the cover, a dragon story. I am an absolute sucker for the traditional dragon fantasy narrative, and I wanted to put my own spin on it. So I think probably the best thing for me to do at this point is to read to you the blurb, and that way you might get a little bit of a better understanding of what the book's all about. A century since the monarchy was overthrown, the country of Albiyon has become a haven for its citizens, the young scholar Adaria included. Raised within the Albion University's walls, she has dedicated her life to the pursuit of knowledge. Preferring to hole up in the library than seek adventure elsewhere, she has grown accustomed to her comfortable routine, until the day everything changes. When she unwittingly awakens a sleeping dragon's egg, Adaria is thrust into unfamiliar territory. Never having dreamed of dragons, she is forced to seek out guidance from the exhilarating Isla, last direct descendant of the royal family, and companion to a centuries-old dragon. Together, they must navigate the surprises to come, for beyond the prospect of a newborn dragon, Albiyon is about to face a dangerous conspiracy that threatens the peace of their realm. Flames of Albiyon is a story of friendship, love, and acceptance that celebrates queer identity. Well, that was an odd experience. I am not unfamiliar with reading blurbs out to you on camera on my channel, but I have certainly never read my own blurb, or have I? I don't know if I have ever read the blurb out loud to you on this book, and that's probably because I didn't write the blurb. With traditionally published fiction or non-fiction, the blurb is not typically written by the author, but in this case, I wrote my own blurb with a little bit of help from beta readers, and I hope that I included some of the parts of the story that mean the most to me within that blurb to indicate to you what the story might contain and whether it's going to be for you or not, but also without giving too much away. There is a lot more that happens in this book than is just in that blurb. There is bisexual representation in the protagonist, but there is also a range of other sexuality and gender identities within the book. If you'd like more details, again, I'm happy to share them with you. It also, like I said, combines so many of my favourite things in one place. It has dragons. It is set in a world where there is no longer a monarchy, although this mirrors your typical medieval-esque Celtic folklore-inspired fantasy world. It's a world without kings and queens, and that was something that was really important to me because I find it so rare to come across fantasy where there aren't kings and queens and where the aim of the story isn't to just overthrow a king or queen and put in place a new king or queen. I didn't want that. I wanted this realm and the people in this realm to be represented by something much closer to a democracy. Although, of course, there are always those that object to that kind of equality in society, who perhaps have lost out on wealth and power since the fall of the monarchy. The book also largely takes part in a university. There is a large central Albion University in this world, and it is also somewhere that foundling children are left who have no parents and are raised by the university, some of whom, like Adaria and her friends, go on to pursue that life of academia and scholarly interest within the building, others of whom move away whilst new students come in who were not raised at the university, and it is a place of knowledge and curiosity and learning that serves the entire community, and it is Adaria's home at the end of the day, and where she meets the dragon's egg that is the beginning of this entire story. There is also, as you can probably gather, a romantic subplot to this book between Adaria and another character, but there is also a focus on friendship and Adaria's friendship and relationship with the other characters in this book, because again, friendship is something that I think is so important and something I am always wanting to read more of in fiction, to read non-toxic, supportive friendships, and I wanted to have that part of this story. So those, I believe, are the main motivators behind this book and my writing of this book. Like I mentioned, it all began 3 years ago. I started this book in around September of 2018, and I finished the first draft of the book in August, September of 2020. So 2 years later, it took me 2 years to write the entire plot and storyline, and I've spent the last year since then redrafting and rewriting and improving and adding in and taking away and talking to beta readers and seeking out proofreaders and editorial assistants and just making the book hopefully the best it could possibly be for anyone who may choose to read it, because that might be you. I mean, the idea that anyone is going to buy this book and read my story that I've poured so much of my heart and soul into is so overwhelming. and also completely outside the realms of imagination. Again, I'm gonna not try and dwell too much on all of the feelings that are bubbling up inside me because that's not why you're here. But the book itself, if you're interested, will be coming out on September 2nd, so pretty much exactly 3 years since I first sat down to start writing it, which feels kind of magical and appropriate. It is also currently available for pre-order on Kindle. So again, I chose to self-publish this, and I've learned a lot about the self-publishing process over the past year since I made that decision, and one of the things that I have uncovered is that I can't offer you a pre-order of the physical copy, only the e-copy, but there will certainly be a physical copy, as you can tell from the book I'm holding right now, but without the not for resale stamp, don't worry. So if you are interested in the ebook version, you can currently pre-order it on Kindle. It is literally there. You can click pre-order and it will appear in your Kindle at midnight on the 2nd of September, which is so wild to me. But if you would prefer to pick up a physical copy, then you will have to wait until the day it comes out to purchase it. But realistically, you're not going to be getting it much later than you would in your hands if you had been able to pre-order it. So just keep an eye on this video and pretty much all of my other social media, where I will be sharing links as it becomes available. For now, I know that it will definitely be available in physical copy on Amazon alongside the Kindle edition, but I am also publishing it through Lulu, which is a self-publishing printer and distributor. So they have an online shop. I know other authors who have worked through Lulu in the past. One of my favourite self-published books, Hear the World Entire, you can buy on Lulu and it ships internationally. I'll link their website down below just for anyone that's curious. But they also offer a distribution network where they will get it into other online bookshops. So again, I can't tell you exactly where it's going to be available physically at the moment, but it will definitely be available in 2 places that ship internationally, and one of which obviously isn't Amazon for those who don't want to shop via Amazon. And as it is a published book with an ISBN number, there may be scope for ordering it in to bookshops, but that is obviously something that is a little bit more difficult with self-published work. But like I said, you can pre-order the Kindle edition, which is just so exciting, and it will be available on the Kobo ebook shop as well as the Kindle ebook shop. So if you don't use Kindle but you still want an ebook copy, it will be available in other ebook formats, and Lulu also offer ebook format. So I will be publishing on Lulu and getting a Kobo pre-order up as soon as possible. So that's currently where it's available. You can also mark it as to read on Goodreads if you just don't want to forget about it, because it is on Goodreads, and I just can't believe it. It feels so real that I can click on the Kindle link and the Goodreads link and see my book cover with my blurb right there. Naturally, I love this book and I love the characters, or I wouldn't be embarking on this adventure. And if you're somebody who enjoys high Celtic inspired fantasy with queer characters and dragons and hope punk vibes, then maybe you'll love it too. So I will obviously have it linked anywhere you can go and look at it down below in the description box. I'm really not sure what else I'm supposed to tell you, or if there was anything super important to go over in this video. I feel like I said already, I've covered the most important aspects. I have given you the summary, I have told you a little bit about the characters and my motivation and the setting. So hopefully you've got a bit of a flavour for the Flames of Albiyon. I would love to hear from you if this is something you're interested in, if it sounds good to you, because like I said, I wrote the book that I always wanted to read, and I'm hoping I'm not the only person that wanted to read those things all in one place. But yes, it's a little bit surreal having just filmed this video and coming to the end of this video without really being able to talk to you all about it yet. So I'm going to try and get this edited and uploaded on the same day so that this evening I can respond to your comments and hopefully chat a little bit more with you back and forth there, because I just want to share it with other people. I just want to talk about it with other people. I want this to exist beyond mine and my beta readers' imaginations, and to share this story and these characters with you all. So I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and edit this video. I'm gonna go. I think I've covered everything, but like I said, if you have more questions, if you're interested in anything else I've mentioned in this video, then just leave your comments down below. Like I said, I can film more videos about this, and I'm even thinking I might do a whole live stream on release day for publication as a little bit of an online book launch. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. I can maybe do a little bit of a reading like you get at traditional book launches, so that might be fun. But yes, until next time, happy reading and happy writing, and I will see you all again in the next one. Bye everyone!